Welcome and bienvenue. I am Eric Russell. I am out and about with the cast of Richmond Triangle Players' production of Cabaret. This was a fantastic evening, let me tell you. But first, we need to find out who our players are. We're going to start right here. Introduce yourself, tell who you are and who you are on the show, and work where across, and then you.
Hello, I'm Jeannie Rule. I play Fräulein Schneider.
I'm Brienne Chin. I play Helga, the Kit Kat girl.
I'm Kim Fox, musical director.
I'm Lacey Pumphrey. I play Lulu.
I'm Doug Schneider, and I play Herr Schultz.
I'm Nicole Oberleitner, and I play Sally Bowles.
I'm Evan Nastaff, and I play Ernst Ludwig.
Ooh.
I'm Stevie Rice, and I play Clifford Bradshaw.
I'm Dan Seymour, and I played Bobby.
I'm Malin Ralphie. I played Han/Rudy, and I was trumpet in the pit.
I'm Andrew Etheridge, and I played Max and Victor.
I'm Linnea Van Driesen, and I play Fritzi Kost.
I'm Chris Hester, I play the MC.
What a fantastic night, a fantastic cast. I mean, just the two words that came to my mind tonight were joyfully sorrowful, to sum up this show. Yes, two things that go together, smash it. Who here has actually read the Berlin stories? Chris Richmond, yeah. I was really drawn into this story. I really loved it because this was a show I did years ago, and I played your role. Too much taller. And blonde. Not so much now. But this is actually based on his life while he was there. And I got the impression from this thing that this show, this version of it, we've got people that are running away and hiding from life almost in some regards. So I'll start with you, Stevie, as Cliff. Let's talk about your Cliff Bradshaw. What's he running away from? He's left America, he's left London, he's left Paris, he's now here in Berlin. What's his story?
I'm not, well, I mean, as far as the book was going, I mean, it felt like he was running away from having to face bisexual feelings and interest in men, but I think that was something that he explored a long time ago. And I truly think that he was running to Berlin to find some type of story, something interesting, and that's what I like about this show, and the realization I had after we opened up in it was that every night I have to forget. Like, I've never done it before, so I've never seen it. And these guys, man, they make that easy. So.
Because you meet Ernst on the train. Let's talk about that relationship. Ernst, you and Cliff Bradshaw there.
What would you like to talk about?
Well, it is Berlin. It's a cabaret. It's free love.
It's funny you asked that because in the very beginning stages of rehearsal, Penny, our brilliant director, who a lot of us will probably talk about, I asked her early on, is Ernst bisexual or is he homosexual? Is he anywhere in between? It's Berlin, pre-war, whatever. She gave me the choice. She was like, I don't care. He's at least interested in Cliff.
Yeah.
She said, I don't care whether he is bisexual or homosexual, but I want you to make a clear choice, and I want you to tell me what it is. And so we decided that Ernst is a homosexual, but it's dynamic within his character because he is a member of the Nazi Party, and that's why he gets gassed at the end. By the way, without the swastikas, because they found out that he is a Nazi. But he meets
homosexual.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I thought he was homosexual. Yes. So he meets Clifford and is immediately enthralled with him, and Ernst is very polite and proper, but also charming. Everyone loves him. And he introduces Clifford to the Kit Kat Club and all these things that are going to, reshape his life. And it just makes it all the more kind of heartbreaking when Ernst, has his turn and reveals who he actually is.
Yeah. There's a little bit of the heartbreak there because he really wants Clifford to do this for me. I've done all this for you. There's almost like he feels like he's been rejected at one point when he gets to that dinner party.
Yeah, absolutely. Ernst doesn't realize. A lot of Nazis at the time, he doesn't realize that it's, what's so wrong about being a Nazi. This is before,
Spoilers in case you don't know how World War II turned out.
This is before the stuff started to hit the fan, He doesn't realize that, what he's doing is wrong. So, towards the end when Clifford, slugs him in the gut and, gets rid of him as a friend, he doesn't understand, what's happening.
You mentioned, you mentioned work with Penny Ayn Maas. What was it like to work with her? I mean,
Unbelievable.
Love you,
Like butter. We love you,
It
Penny.
just radiates off of her from
Worst body odor.
Oh, kidding.
She's brilliant.
When she's working with you,
Brilliant.
pulling out your character, we're working on the NC or working with, I loved your Fräulein. Oh my God, I fell in love with you two. Just such a great love story. But how did y'all working with her put your characters together?
Well, the amazing thing about Penny was that she was as devoted.
Top 10 for me?
Nothing for him.
No? Okay.
Here you go, darling.
You've had. You've had. The amazing thing about Penny, which, you know, my first rehearsal with her, we sat down and actually read the scenes and talked about the book, talked about the characters. And, you know, a lot of times in a musical, that's ignored. And Penny was, her whole take with this play was that every word was important. Every piece of dialogue mattered. Every lyric, every dance move, everything was integral to the whole of the story. And so from the very beginning, that's what we were all literally indoctrinated with, is that we are doing something important. And that means something.
When I was watching this, I was watching fully realized characters.
Yep.
I mean, I really was invested in, even if you were the Kit Kat girls, the Kit Kat boys, you had a story. Just watching the interaction with Bobby or with
Well, we had
anyone.
an inside scoop because Penny was a swing on Broadway. I mean,
For 5 years.
for 5 years. So she
Every-
knew
she knew
every
everything.
single ensemble girl inside and out. She knew. I would see her sitting like during a run, and she'd be saying all the lines, like just mouthing all the lines.
And she
like,
played.
She played all the instruments.
So she was like
Yeah.
a conductor, musical conductor, in that she knew every piece that she went, and heard everything, whether it was from the actors or from the band.
Well,
And I
she
felt like
also
she understood the balance between having us have specific
Right.
requests in mind for us and allowing us some flexibility to
Yes.
to
Oh,
just
totally.
Yeah.
And that's a hard
She had a-
balance for a lot of directors.
She had a total vision for this piece,
Yeah.
but she also worked with each of us individually, understood what we were trying to bring to it, and really collaborated. I mean, she's just the most brilliant
I
director.
don't think that's something I choreographed. Let's try that again.
That was great. Thank you, Penny.
When you talk about the mix of choices, I want to talk about cost choices. She makes choices with her sailors who come and go. Let's talk about her and her relationship at the house with this fine lady right here who runs this great establishment. Because she talks about being a survivor. She survived a war and she survived inflation and she's going to survive this again. You two have almost like a symbiotic relationship going on here.
I view it as Fräulein Schneider is the only stable thing that Kost has. And that's why she's so devastated when there's talk of a marriage and that's gonna be gone. And so she's gonna have nowhere to live, she's gonna have no maybe kind of mommy figure or at least a true friend. She's the only person in her life that doesn't want sex from her. So it's the only real relationship she's got.
I like it. See, I'm deep. See, we have a deep answer.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. I don't know.
Okay.
We've all done our
Just
work.
working
We've
with
done our
God.
work,
Right.
that's for sure.
In developing this version of the show, because this was first on this stage back in 1966, and the 98 revival did 2,377 performances at Studio 54, so really fantastic, and you guys would do an easy 3,000.
Yes! From your lips to God's ears.
Right.
Keep selling it.
Can we push the passions up a little bit?
Can you guys tell me, though, what song that's in this revival was in the movie, and what song that was in the show never made the movie?
Yeah, he's good.
No, well, actually, I Don't Care Much.
That was added, right?
Okay.
I Don't Care Much was cut from the original.
Correct.
And then maybe this time was in the movie, which got into this, and
Cabaret, two ladies.
no,
They were all in
Money was from the movie.
Money was added, Two Ladies was cut
My
from the
hair
movie.
was not in
Two Ladies, that's
Two
right.
Ladies
Two Ladies was cut from the movie.
It's in the
It is?
It's but it's actually two ladies.
Two ladies.
Two actual ladies.
Two actual ladies,
Yeah.
Also,
Which they never know what's
They
gonna
did
happen.
a little like
so mine hair, and maybe this time were written for the movie specifically.
No, maybe this time it was written for the play.
Play the original.
What about
It
Defying
was cut.
Gravity?
It was cut. It was cut from the play because they wrote it for Liza, and then Liza couldn't do
Then
it.
it came in the movie.
Liza who?
Manelli.
What I think is interesting, history related to this. So, Hal Prince, who mounted the original musical version, songs that were cut, he remounted it in 1986, I believe. And he wanted the rights to Maybe This Time, and to Mine Hair, and to I Don't Care Much. And Kander and Ebb would not give him the rights because they did not like the direction that he wanted to take the new version.
Oh, that's cool.
And so when Sam Mendes and Rob Marshall revived it in London in 1993 at the Donmar Warehouse, the Kander and Ebb, they both were alive at the time, and they liked the direction he was going, and they said,
okay,
you can have the rights to these songs because you're going to do what we should be doing it. And that was when they were first allowed to be in the musical.
Wow.
And so that's how, when they made their first debut on Broadway, was then in 97, 98, after that London version. But it's interesting because Kander and Ebb were very protective of certain songs because this was, I think, their masterpiece. And if you read anything about them, they will say this is their proudest accomplishment. And they wanted the right person or people to integrate those songs in the appropriate manner.
Right. And Penny really honored that.
Boy, did she.
It's a shame you haven't done your homework.
Yeah.
Right. I've only obsessed about this for 27 years.
You're dating yourself.
How old are you? Never mind.
28.
21.
28.
21.
Whatever.
He looks it in the show.
Now, I do want to talk about your role as the MC, because he's almost like this lurking phantom through the entire show that we see him from the beginning all the way through to the very end. Let's talk about your development as the MC, because you were on the stage pretty much almost the entire time.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, the MC's not really a character in the show. He has no plot. He is a device. And kind of like the Kit Kat Curls and Boys a bit too, he's a device, and a lot of times in this musical, he is either responding or does songs or scenes that reference what just happened, or is providing foreshadowing into what's about to happen. And so, when Sam Mendes and Rob Marshall reinvigorated it, that's how they saw the MC was a catalyst to help propel the narrative and to echo Cliff, Ernst, Sally, Koss, Schneider, and Schultz. They're the characters. The rest of us are inconsequential to the story. And so that's really what the role of the MC is. And it's different than, Joel Grey. In the original musical, that's not how it was derived. He was truly an MC and he was only in the club. And in the movie, he just sings in the club. And so it's interesting, and when I came to, I saw the show on Broadway 4 times, London twice, touring. I've seen it many, many times, and I always thought, oh, Alan Cumming is this, or Joel Grey's that. And when I first started, I'll never forget, Penny said, you need to let all those people go. She said, because the only way you're going to be successful is you don't need to be Alan Cumming, you don't need to be Joel Grey, she said, you need to be you. And she said, you need to find your energy and your style. And she said, you're not dark, you're playful. She said, you're funny. She said, you're witty. She said, you're sexy and mysterious and playful. She said, so find whatever it is for you, because that's the only way it could go. And what's interesting, and kind of what Doug said, she spent a lot of time, she said, at any point in the show, the audience should be able to look at you, whether you're in a chair against the wall, and know exactly where they should be focusing their attention, and read in your expression and body language what the audience should be feeling. And it was just an interesting way to approach it. And that's why I will say she's brilliant. And bringing out the best in that.
Yeah, because anytime you're on stage, we're following you, but then you pull us right into the scene. We're never just focused on you, except when appropriate.
Yeah, when he's looking at something,
but
you look at what he's looking at.
And you know what is so brilliant about what was created? Because it was an improv with Joel Grey and Hal Prince that developed the first MC. But this was, they reached back in history to Brecht and Kurt Weill, And then they went in Berlin in the 20s, and then they went past that to the MC, and to some of the Kit Kat girls and boys who are people who represent more than who they are. And the same with our characters too. We represent more than who we are.
Yes,
Doug is the Jewish people. I am the German people who are not, Nazis, and we're just like, ooh, in a whirlwind.
What is going on?
But they reach further back to the very origins of almost modern theater. Sometimes we don't think about it, into the Middle Ages, when there were types, and there was a death. A figure who was death. And this, for me, is where they developed the MC from.
That's totally, yeah.
That's right.
So, I mean, this is some of the brilliance of this play, in that it just encompasses, for us as theater people, it encompasses our entire world, our history.
Yeah, it's not just a musical.
No, oh my God. And when people say musical, hello,
not Sunshine
hello
and Daisies.
people.
This is a slice of history. This is a slice of people's lives.
And this asks the questions, the important questions. And to me, if theater does not ask the important questions, why come? Stay home.
You don't want to think if you don't want to feel. Don't come to our show.
The MC is one of the most fascinating characters I've ever seen portrayed in a musical, because breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience is, a time-old, trick. Everybody does it. Artibetis did La Cage last summer, and it was brilliant, and, they set up the audience as like, they're in La Cage aux Folles, so the singers would talk to the audience and all of that. But the MC, especially in Cabaret, it's the first show I've seen where it goes so far beyond that. I mean, he talks to the audience, he brings members on stage and dances with them, he makes them feel like they're a part of the club, but he's also so much more important. He's driving everything. He's steering the entire ship. And it's the first time that I have seen, the fourth wall breaking down like that used in such an effective way.
It's crazy. I mean, this is a magnificent show, and we're pulled into the stories, we're pulled into history. That's why I said it's a joyfully sorrowful show.
Yeah, and he pulls you in, like he's the one doing it.
As a group, what is your favorite song from the show? Do we have consensus on this?
I don't think it's
Cabaret.
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 I like mine hair.
I like mine hair. I also
Maybe
really
it's
love
not.
Mama, but I like mine hair.
It's like the feminist
If you
theme
can see her,
song.
Personally, I like
We don't
So
agree.
What.
Well, there you go. I kind of like the pineapple song myself. But actually, I have to say, I do think "Married" is one of the most beautiful theater songs ever written.
I was singing it to my husband last
It's
night.
because it's
so
sweet
simple.
but not cloying.
It's so simple.
It is actually very truthful, and it comes from the original show, and it really is. For me, it's their take, Cantor and Ebb, because they were partners for many, many, many years. On that institution, that thing that people want to, strive for.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful rendering of that to me.
And how
And in
blessing.
this version, it's so simple. It's very short. It's very.
To the point and simple.
It's to the point. It really is a proposal, and I actually think it's the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful.
I have to say, I think for me, one of my favorite songs really is Cabaret, and the reason I say that is because in one of the rehearsals, and this is a nod to Nicole's brilliant performance as Sally Bowles.
Brilliant.
Nicole and Sally, and Nicole and Penny had a conversation about a dynamic of the song when a shift happens in Sally Bowles' character. Nicole saw it one way, and Nicole has done the role before at a previous theater, and that was really interesting to hear that conversation and how Penny really pushed Nicole to see it a different way, and Nicole rose to that opportunity brilliantly. And I just want to take my hat off to you, madam, because it really is a lovely performance.
Absolutely.
And I, that is recognized from your fellow cast members, the challenge that you were given, and how well you met up to that.
You're ready.
Kitchen darling.
It's almost like she's mourning the loss of something. There's this. It's not this. Where you expected this very nightclubby, and it pulls you in, and you feel like there's been great loss here.
Well,
She's finally recognized that whatever innocence and the party's kind of over in her world, and
Yeah.
I
Until
just
she
loved
makes
it.
the decision, it's not over.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep this going. And you know, I represent a large percentage of people who did not want to realize what was happening.
Yep.
They wanted it to not be happening. Most people wanted it not to be happening. And so Sally represents that, and that's difficult. That's difficult because I feel like, oh, everybody's gonna hate this annoying girl who just is like, it's not, you know, but what does that have to do with us, you know? But that's a large percentage of the people of the world at that time.
They don't look at what they just want.
No.
Want to party and do
Oh,
whatever.
history, politics, they're so boring, oh my God.
I think what's so striking about your performance in that song is that people expect that thing to be a big showstopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really is like a monologue. The way
Yeah.
you do it, and it's so simple and powerful. And tonight I was listening to the audience afterwards, and it was like they didn't really know what to do.
with it.
It was
Yeah.
really cool. It's so cool because it is that song that everyone thinks that's the big song of the show, right? But it's not. It's the
They begin to laugh at like the weirdest thing. You know?
It's such an intimate, personal performance. So, you know, if you go out to karaoke and you see somebody like shred Mariah Carey or something, you're like, yeah, bro. But like if you go out to karaoke and you see somebody like sing a song about breaking up or something, like they're bursting into tears and they throw the microphone down the end of the song, like what would you do? You know what I mean? Like
it's not what people expect Cabaret to be.
They want it to be what
Liza did, which was this kind of, but it isn't, and that's Penny.
Lets them
It's much more. It's
Yeah.
introspective.
and it lets them think more.
Yeah.
And that is what good theater is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
And it
It's
does.
a model.
This show, you guys make people think. You make us think
Oh,
about
yeah. What
the
would
choices
you
people
do?
have to make,
Yeah.
the choices that we have no control over, all of those things.
Yeah. It's very deep.
What is one thing that you want an audience to take away from the show when they come and see it?
Sex.
Wait, what was
they got that.
Just the great music.
Yeah.
Great music, great story, great book.
I would like them to feel truth.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, and it's in part of Penny's director notes, but I think it's all the things that are in the show. They happen today.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. The persecution or the prejudice, or, you know, it's funny tonight, the song I Dance with the Gorilla, right? And it's funny, but there's a lot
Until
of...
it's
But
People
what's
laugh at the
But
end. It's
what
weird.
the irony is why should you be laughing that I'm dancing with a gorilla? Is that any different than me dancing with a man, or a Jew, or a Muslim? I mean, the point,
Well,
and it
it
makes...
is different. For the majority of people, it is different.
And that's what I want, and I agree with you, and I think that's what I want people to, it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to leave here, you will not leave here necessarily like raging with happiness. I mean, because I think,
We've done our job, you will laugh, you will cry.
That's another moment in the show where they don't know how to react.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's because we're saying, how would you handle this situation? What would you do? So they get in their head and they go, okay, well, how would I handle this? And that is what theater's supposed to do.
And
If
by
you're
the-
not walking out of theater changed or
Enlightened.
contemplating something, then, I mean, you
What's
know.
the point, Georgia?
I mean, you could be, your
so
spirits
much.
could be lifted, there's theater to just go and be like, oh, my spirits are
I
lifted.
remember early on in rehearsal, Penny would say something like, this show's about survival.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What would you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
What
And-
would you do? And
What would
Jeannie
you
gets
do?
to do it.
Yes, how far you go.
And that's, to me, that's the bottom
And at the end
line.
of the day, it's about who the survivors are.
Yeah.
I would want people to feel something like we're talking about. I also would want them, in addition, I want them to appreciate the arc of the story because it's so brilliantly written. Every character has an arc. You know, Cliff starts looking for answers, and then at the end he can't wait to get out. You know, Aaron starts off this charming, polite guy, and it's such a turn when he realizes who he is, but he also doesn't understand why it's not okay to be a Nazi. And then Sally Bowles, like, is denying herself forever and forever and forever, and by the time she realizes what's going on, it's too late. And it's just like, in addition to all of the messages the Cabaret sends, it's also a really good story for every individual character.
It really is.
I would like for everyone to leave here and to tell all their friends and have all their friends come and to come back.
Thank you.
That too.
Spend a lot of money at the and support RTP, which is the great theater.
House of Pregnant.
Well, you guys have a magnificent show here. I mean,
Thank
this is
Thank
one
you.
that people will be here and they will think.
Yeah.
And they will have a good time, and they won't really be sure why, because they're going, why am I laughing at tragedy?
Yes.
But that is life.
That's good
And
theater.
it's fantastic theater.
Yes.
It's brilliant theater.
And
Brilliant.
cheers to RTP for
Cheers.
The show runs through July 5th here at Richmond Triangle Players. You can get tickets,
Or longer. Longer would be good.
You can get tickets at rtriangle.org. Get those, or subscribe.
Better. Subscribe.
Subscriptions are fantastic. I want to thank you all for having me here.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Washington.
I'm Eric Russell. I've been out with the cast of Cabaret here at Richmond Triangle Players. You never know where I'll turn up next, so tune in next time.
Come see us.